Hello there. My name is Gary Mormon, and I'm here to show you JourneyGuide, our comprehensive retirement planning software. Before I dive in, I'll just highlight three things that come up over and over from our advisors. Number one, they love the simplicity of JourneyGuide. The user interface is very simple. The graphics are very easy to understand. You can create a client plan in 20 minutes or less. Number two, don't let that simplicity fool you. The statistics and calculations behind our output are truly best in class, and we will put them up against anything else out there. And number three, if you believe annuities can be a meaningful part of a retirement plan, JourneyGuide is the best software by far to demonstrate that for your clients. So let's dive in. If you pursue a free trial or a subscription, the first time you log in, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see an empty client list. So let's add a new client. The first page, we have three main input pages. The first page is the About You page, and it's just the basics: name, gender, date of birth. John was born in 1964. He is employed, retiring at the age of 66, and John is married. So his wife's name is Jane. She was born in 1967, a little younger. She's also still working, and she's going to retire at the age of 63. So both of them are planning to retire in 2030. They live in Florida. We'll input the state because we do estimate state taxes as part of the plan. And then here's the biggie. We're asking for the client's annual spending goal. And this is a true spending number. It's an after-tax today's dollars number. So John and Jane, they would like to spend $90,000 per year during their retirement. Once you've input that info, you click next, everything saves, and you move on to the second investments and savings page. This is the simple entry format where we're going to show a qualified account for each, a Roth account for each, and one joint non-qualified. I'll show you how you can add more accounts than that in just a second, but we input the amount, a representative asset mix, 70-30 for John, and John is contributing $10,000 a year between now and when he retires. Jane, $275,000. She's a slightly more conservative asset mix, contributing $7,500 a year. And John also has a Roth account, and he is quite a bit more aggressive with that one, not contributing. And then Jane and John have a joint checking account that's basically in cash, and they're saving another $15,000 per year there. So that's inputting the investments and savings. Now, if you have clients that have, let's say John has multiple 401ks from different employers, or you want to be a little more descriptive, you just switch over to detailed, and you'll notice there's an add account button. So you can add as many accounts as you like. And then for, say, John's qualified account, there's a descriptive box. So you could label it, Johnson and Johnson 401k if you wanted to. I won't save that, but just so you can see on the detailed entry, you can be more descriptive and add as many accounts as you like. Once you've got those accounts in there, we ask you to choose a retirement asset mix. And for this couple, I'm going to select 40/60. So what that means is between now and 2030, when John and Jane retire, we're going to model these asset mixes that we've selected in these accounts. But come 2030, all of their assets will switch to the 40/60, and that's what we're going to model. And then we do allow you to include an advisory or product fee. So I'm going to use 1%. Basically, as part of this plan, we're going to charge a 1% fee annually on these balances. So after that, again, you click next, everything saves. And this is the third and final input page, which is income and expenses. So John happens to have a statement We can model Social Security based on their statement or their last full-time wage. John's got his statement, and it was showing, note here, you need to input the amount on the statement that John's going to get at full retirement age. And his statement shows $28.53 a month at full retirement age. And then John would like to start taking at the age of 65. So we're going to adjust accordingly. Jane, she did not have her statement. So we're going to go with her last full-time wage. So last year when she was 53, she made $70,000 per year gross. And she wants to start taking her benefit as early as possible at the age of 62. So we estimate those benefits accordingly. Now, you can tell Jane's individual benefit is higher than what her spousal benefit would be. If you were working on a case, let's say one of the spouses, was a homemaker, did not have a salary, we're going to model whichever's greater, the individual benefit or the spousal benefit. I do have to highlight quickly in regards to Social Security right here. I'll hover over this pop-up. What this is saying is this past April, the Social Security Trust Fund basically projected if Congress doesn't fix the fund in the year 2034, they're estimating a 24% drop in Social Security benefits. And at JourneyGuide, we're modeling that drop by default, and you can see it here. Here we are, Social Security between John and Jane, 2033, just under 68,000 a year. The next year, 2034, drops to under 53,000. So that's that 24% drop. And the reason you see the growth is we are increasing benefits as well as living expenses by roughly 2% a year. Now, you as the advisor, you can turn off that default. And now you'll see Social Security just growing without that big drop off. Our advisors are mixed. Many love the conservatism that this default builds in. Many cannot imagine Congress is going to let this happen. In the end, it's a great conversation piece between you and your client. So I will leave it on for this case. The second part of the income and expenses page is what we call other income and expenses. And it's for one-time or recurring sort of unique things. Let's go to add, in this particular case, John, so I'm going to call it part-time employment. John is planning to do some consulting work the first 5 years of retirement. He's expecting to make about $40,000 a year, and I'm going to choose future value because this starts when John retires. If I choose present value, we're going to take this $40,000 and inflate it by 2% a year from now until John retires in 2030. But John thinks 40,000 is really going to be the number, so I'll use future value, and he's only going to do this for 5 years. So first year of retirement through his 5th year of retirement, which is 2034, that'll give him 5 years. That's pre-tax money, and he's not expecting that to grow. If he was expecting his part-time pay to increase by, say, 5% a year, that's how you could show that. But we're going to leave it at 0. We're going to be conservative. So there you have it. We're modeling John's 5 years of part-time income. Now, on the expense side, this would only be for expenses that are not covered by their annual spending goal. So John and Jane, if you remember, they want to spend $90,000 a year in retirement. Any expense that's covered by that $90,000, you would not include here. This would be for things like John wants to pay cash for a $75,000 sports car when he retires, or Jane wants to cover the college expense of one of her relatives, and that's not in their budget. This is also where you would model a long-term care event. If you wanted to show something like a $50,000 per year long-term care expense the last 5 years of John's life, that's where you would show that type of thing. On the income side, we're showing the part-time employment. Other things that show up here that I see most often, pensions. this is where you would include that. If your clients have rental properties, this is where you would include that rental income, and so forth. So now that we've completed the basic inputs, we're going to click next and go to the Where Do I Stand page, which is our first output. And JourneyGuide starts by telling you what most retirement software modules will do. They'll tell you what are your odds of your $90,000 per year goal. And in John and Jane's case, 54%. Not too great, not too bad though. And now JourneyGuide will do what no other software does. So John and Jane, by default, because of their ages, we're solving at a 95% success rate. So JourneyGuide is able to tell you, with your base plan, at a 95% success rate, what can you spend? And that number is $75,624 a year. Again, short of their goal, but maybe they're within striking distance. And I'll just point out, the other software that's out there, you just have to keep iterating, keep trying different spending numbers until you get the success rate you want. And here I just want to briefly mention, I talked about the power of our statistics behind our output. What do we mean when we're telling a client with a 95% success rate, you can spend this amount? JourneyGuide is running a 5,000 scenario forward-looking Monte Carlo simulation. Think of scenario number 1 as the best possible market outcome and scenario 5,000 as the worst. Well, the one that allows John and Jane to spend this amount of money is the 95th percentile. It's number 4,750 on that ranking. It's a really crummy market outcome that we're modeling. And we're doing that for 2 reasons. One, you're able to tell your client, this is a very safe, secure spending number. You are not going to have to worry about running out of money. You're also able to tell your client 94.9% of the time, your retirement is going to look better than this. And we can adjust accordingly. If 5 years into retirement, markets are performing on average, which is more like the 50th percentile, we're going to be able to adjust your spending higher, or what you're going to leave behind as a legacy. And then JourneyGuide will offer typically 3 automated recommendations to improve a client's retirement spending. The first one you see here, this is sort of a generic annuity recommendation that shows them how to increase their spending by $3,000 a year. This one here, Social Security optimization. And then this one is just a combination of the two. So once you're here, you could click on any one of these recommended scenarios. You could click next, or you could just click explore options. They're all going to take you to the same place. And the explore options page, this is the money page. This is where you are going to be able to show your client how you can benefit them. So right there, you see that 75,624 spending number. What's going to happen on this page? Any change we make to the plan or any recommendation will show up here. So let's start real simple. Up here in the scenario box, if I click in there, there's those 3 automated recommendations that you saw on the page before. So let's just look at optimizing Social Security. So in this particular case, it's actually optimal. They have enough assets for both John and Jane to wait until they're 70. And voila, you can see right there what that does. It adds more than $10,000 per year to what they can spend in retirement. Now I want to show you our automated annuity recommendation. So this is now just adding an annuity. We're not optimizing Social Security. So you can see here from 75.6 to 78.6, this annuity is adding about $3,000 per year to what the Browns can spend. So what's actually happening? You see this $140,000 number over here. That's the amount we're showing as an annuity purchase. That's simply 20% of the Browns' total investments and savings today. So what JourneyGuide does, we look at 4 different amounts: 5, 10, 15, and 20%. We run those amounts through SPIAs, DIAs, FIAs, and we iterate through different potential years to turn on income. So after all of that, whichever iteration yields the greatest annual income increase, that's what we show. So we're not saying, so this is a $140,000 FIA with income being turned on in 2031. We're not saying 20% is the perfect amount or the optimal amount. We just want to give advisors a place to start. So now let's go inside, click the edit button. We're going to go inside the annuity wizard, and you will notice average quote is highlighted. That's the mode we use for our automated recommendation. Here's another thing very unique to JourneyGuide. We get live pricing from 40 plus different carriers on a daily basis from Canex. What this average quote mode is doing, it's taking the top 5 carriers based on minimum guaranteed annual payout for these specs. And we're going to average those top 5 because we don't really want to be in the business of recommending a specific carrier. And you can see that's what that is. I encourage our advisors, take a look at Find a Product, and we'll keep everything the same. FIA, buying it from John's qualified account, we'll keep the amount the same. I'll keep the strategy, point-to-point S&P. I will keep the payout age, 2031. So this is truly apples to apples. Well, here's the difference with Find a Product. Click in that box, you get the ranking from highest guaranteed annual payout. You can scroll all the way down to lowest. So for demonstration purposes, I'll choose that American National product, which happens to be the highest guaranteed amount, and I'll switch to that, and there you'll see that added almost $800 a year from where we were before. We were at $78,600. Actually, it added more than $800. So by choosing the top payout, we went a little higher. And now that you've got an annuity selected, you can play with amounts. Let's move it up to 30% of their total investments and savings. So 210,000. And now you're seeing we're adding about $5,500 a year to what they can spend, almost 7.5%. So that's compelling, and it shows the benefit of the annuity. But there's more, and this is really important, especially when talking about annuities, but it applies to any recommendation you make to the plan. This is our income frontier chart. This is the most powerful chart that we have. I absolutely love it, and I think you'll see why. The x-axis down here is not time. This is all 5,000 of those market simulations, with the worst on the far left to best markets on the far right. So it'll make a little more sense this way. If I hover over the blue line and the green line on the far left, the little black box there, you'll notice in there it says 98%. Well, this is the 98th percentile. This is in essence the worst market that we're modeling. And in that box, it'll tell you in their base plan, they would be able to spend 73,377 per year. With the annuity, 79,061. So you'll notice those spending numbers are lower than what you saw above. Well, that makes sense because we didn't solve for the 98th percentile. We solved for the 95th percentile. So that's what you're seeing now. And those numbers in the box, those spending numbers, they match exactly what you see above. If I move all the way to the right, now I'm looking at what spending would be like if we had a second percentile market, truly market nirvana during John and Jane's retirement. And you can see those spending numbers are $30,000, $40,000 per year higher, which makes sense. So when you step back, here's the key to this chart. This is the crossover point between the blue line representing the base plan and the green line representing your recommended plan. What this is telling us, at the 31st percentile, which is a well above average market outcome, it wouldn't matter if they had the annuity or not. They could spend about $98,000 a year, whether they stuck with their base plan or added the annuity. So what this chart is saying, everything to the right of this crossover, the top 30% of market outcomes, the Browns would be better off sticking with their base plan and just riding the market and not having the annuity, the blue lines above the green, which makes sense. But everything to the left, the other 69% of markets, the vast majority of markets, and really meaningful, the really poor markets, they are better off with the plan with the annuity. Thus, the green line is above the blue. So what this chart really is, it's statistical support for whether or not what you're recommending is truly in your client's best interest. And I think in this case, it's pretty obvious this is a good recommendation. So let me show you one other thing that ties to that chart. I've talked about Social Security, I've talked about annuities, but notice here, these horizontal bars, you click on any of them, you can change any variable that's part of the base plan and see the impact. The one I want to focus on right now is the retirement asset mix, because this is a strategy that we've seen used effectively over and over. If you're an advisor and you've de-risked a third or 30% of your client's money, does it make sense to keep the rest of the portfolio in the same 40-60 asset mix? Probably not, because in essence, you're giving your client a risk profile more conservative than what they're comfortable with. So let's go in and let's move that retirement asset mix to slightly more aggressive. Instead of 40-60, 60-40. So you see the impact here. It increased this, I think it was about $300. So, not a huge impact, but still positive. But look what it did to the income frontier chart. Now, by putting 30% of their money into an annuity and being a little more aggressive with what's left, your recommended plan, represented by the green line, they're better off no matter what the market does during their retirement. And that's why I love it. Now, not every client case will you be able to come up with an income frontier chart that looks like this one, but I do see it a lot. And if your client understands this chart, normally that's a slam dunk recommendation that is going to be accepted. And then the last thing I'll do with this case, I'll go back and let's optimize Social Security again. So now we've optimized Social Security, we've added an annuity, and we've gone a little more aggressive with the remainder. And you've shown your client how to increase their annual retirement spending by 22%. You've gotten them above their goal. So that's a happy client. And then when you create a plan that you like, you just click Save Scenario and name it whatever you want. I'll call this Excellent Plan. And if I click Save, you will now see, there it is in my dropdown. You can save as many different scenarios as you want. And then finally, if you want a PDF that you can either email or print out for a client, instead of clicking Save, click Save and Generate. And now you will see a preview of a PDF. And if you become a subscriber, this would obviously be your information. You can even replace our logo with your own logo. And this report basically provides every graph and chart that we have talked about. So that's all I have for now. You will see my contact information to reach out with questions. And more importantly, we're hoping you sign up for a free trial, and you'll see how to do that now. Thank you so much, and goodbye.